I loved watching plays and seeing people perform. The theater community had just something magical that made me want to be in one. It wasn't until I was 9 or so when I joined a place that did mini performances of songs from musicals. I did that till I was about 11, where I got into my first play, Cinderella. I played one of her birds, which at first I was disappointed, but I soon fell in love with my role. From then on, I was fully invested into theater. I was in many plays and musicals such as Peter Pan, Annie, and I had a great time. When I was about 13, I moved states. There, I tried to find another theater community, but I couldn't find one that was for me. I either didn't like the environment or the people or the directors were just plain biased, and I just couldn't find one that was me and that I loved. I had a hard time adjusting to the move and moving theater communities where I had a director that I loved, so it was hard. I struggled for this till I was about a freshman in high school, where I went to my first public school. I was homeschooled the years prior before high school, so I was really excited to try out plays in my high school as I heard great stuff about this theater community and the director, and I was really excited. There was even a theater class which I was so hyped for. I immediately signed up for that theater class, and I was really excited to be a part of it. But when I got to that theater class, I learned that it wasn't what I expected. I learned that some of the kids there just weren't very nice. I didn't feel very respected at all in that class, and I didn't really like it all that much. I admit that it was hard for me to come out of my shell, so sometimes I didn't put my all into that class, but I still tried my best. However, the more I tried, the more I felt left out. I auditioned for the spring musical, High School Musical, which I didn't make the cut, but it was expected since I was a freshman, and many freshmen actually didn't make the cut. I was a little annoyed how they did the casting process. I won't say how they did it, but it wasn't what I was used to, and I was a little bit annoyed because I felt like I couldn't show off the talent that I had or that I was capable of doing, and that I wasn't able to put myself out there and be the very best I could. When I was a sophomore in high school, I took theater too, which was kind of a regret I have because the loneliness feeling grew. I also felt like most of the students didn't take what I had seriously. When I tried to direct a mini play for an assignment that we had, hardly anyone listened to me. They wouldn't listen to what I would say, what I would direct. Heck, I had a hard enough time getting their attention. I had to have a kid help me yell so that they would understand that I was trying to direct something. But what annoyed me the most was that for the assignment, we had 2 directors, and they listened to the other director fully. And I just felt like a mere shadow, and that nobody wanted to listen to me or hear what I had to say. I also had the feeling that the teacher didn't like me nor cared for me. The theater teacher, who was also a director, always seemed to have her favorites. And if you weren't one of them, chances are you weren't going to get into the show. I tried for both shows in 10th grade, which were The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Mamma Mia, and I didn't make the cut for either. I also auditioned for a show called One Acts at my school, which were student directed, basically directed by the students, and I didn't make the cut for those either. I'm starting to see that there's a pattern. I just never made the cut. In 11th grade, I had made my choice to focus on my studies and leave theater behind. I did try for the spring show, which was The Little Mermaid, for both cast and crew, but again, I didn't make the cut. This was at the time that I realized that I just wasn't meant for this theater company or theater at my school. I didn't feel like I was respected enough, and I felt like the director didn't like me, so I decided to leave the theater community. Well, especially at my high school at least. So you might be asking, why did I choose to leave the theater community and not just try another community somewhere else? Well, the truth is, I grew up. I fell in love with theater when I was very, very young, and I loved it. But as time grew on, I felt like I just had less and less passion for theater as I started finding new passions such as voice acting, art, crafting, and YouTube. And so I just personally grew out of theater. Not to say that I still don't love it. I love theater still, and I would still do a play happily. But right now, I'm trying to focus on myself and my studies and classes. So I decided to leave the theater community. I try to focus on myself and my classes. And not to mention my YouTube and voice acting. So with all that saying, there's a lot more of the story in which I could go on. I could talk about how much I didn't like the director, how much I didn't like the people in the environment. I could go on about how I found other passions. But I'm not going to go all into details because I do not want to badmouth anyone. I don't want to call out anyone because it's no one's fault why I left the theater community. I may have not felt well respected by anyone or felt like I belonged, but that's no one's fault. I found my own community with my own friends, and I'm happy to say that I've never been happier after leaving it. It felt like a relief to let go of something that was holding me back so that I could become true to myself and find what I truly love. Thank you so much for listening to my story time and why I left the theater community. I hope you have a great day, night, or afternoon, and I'll see you next time. Bye!